Hello, it's Lexi at Cozy Tea Cafe on Bookstagram, and today we're going to be summarizing Servant of Earth by Sarah Hawley. This is the first book in a new fantasy series, and the next book comes out September 30th. So, just as a reminder, this video will be full of spoilers. It's in-depth plot details from the entire book, so if you don't want spoilers, don't continue watching. In the beginning of the story, there is a human world called Antera, and the winter solstice is approaching, and this is a 6th year, meaning 4 mortal women will be chosen to live in Mistay, the fairy kingdom below the ground. Kenna and her best friend Anya are eligible to be selected by the Fae this year, and Kenna is digging through the bog to look for items to sell when she comes across a strange Fae steel dagger. The selection starts, and the humans believe that they will be sent into the bog to become citizens of Mistay and live in eternal bliss, and in exchange, the Fae protect the human lands, but Kenna doesn't really believe this and never has. The first 3 humans are chosen, and Anya is the last one chosen. Kenna follows Anya into the bog, and she feels the dagger in her pocket guiding her. The dagger allows Kenna to see a monster in the woods that none of the other girls can see. They run away through the bog, and 3 of the girls are attacked and killed by the monster. Kenna loses Anya, and she believes that she's dead, but she's able to cross the bog into Mistay, and the monsters stop chasing her. The dagger liquefies and turns into a spiral bracelet around her upper arm. Kenna is taken to King Osric, and as he decides what to do with her, Prince Dresden of Firehouse says a sacrifice hasn't made it this far in a long time, and he suggests letting her live. The king presents Kenna as a handmaiden to Lady Lara of Earthhouse for the upcoming trials. This is seen as an insult since humans are seen as animals. Head servant Ality walks Kenna to her chambers and tells her that Earthhouse controls soil, plants, and water, and the tunnel into the house is warded by spells that sweep away unwanted guests. Ality explains that she's an Azrai, which is an elemental underfae with minimal water magic. She also explains that each Fae house is ruled by a prince or princess, and when a noble Fae heir, like Lara, comes of age at 18, they must compete in the immortality trials to test Fae virtues, and if they succeed, they're granted immortality and full use of their powers. If they fail, they'll be stripped of their magic and cast out, or die. Ality tells Kenna that she's not a prisoner and she can explore Mistay, but she won't be able to enter into the other houses: Fire, Light, Illusion, and Void. As Kenna explores, she runs into Prince Dresden, and he takes Kenna to Firehouse and tells her that there was once a 6th house, the House of Blood. Fire, Void, and Blood rebelled against the king 500 years ago, but Fire and Void realized they had made a mistake and backed down. But Blood refused to back down. Light and Illusion have always backed King Osric, but Earth is historically neutral. Dresden says that Earth controls the terrestrial elements, while Fire controls everything beyond that, including flame, air, wind, and weather. Void controls darkness and emptiness and can create monsters, while Light is immune to others' magic and can cast light. Illusion can change what the mind perceives and cast visions to manipulate the mind. Osric was the Prince of Illusion before he became king. Dresden says that the king finds the human selection amusing and casts an illusion of the hunt for the Fae to watch as entertainment. Dresden warns her to stay away from Void, Light, and Illusion houses. Back at Earthhouse, Lady Lara refuses to see Kenna. Princess Oriana, Lara's mother, tells Lara that she must accept Kenna as her handmaiden. Lara asks why the king is punishing her, and Oriana says that he despises all of Earthhouse for remaining neutral. Oriana tells Kenna that she will spy for them and help Lara win by whatever means necessary. Lara opens up to Kenna and tells her that her father died after her brother Selwyn was born, and Kenna tells her that her own dad left her mom after she was born, and they form a reluctant bond. They go to Lighthouse, and Kenna meets another servant, a fire sprite named Aiden, and he tells her that the solstice ritual used to exist to unite the 2 species, but the king turned it into a hunt when he took the throne 800 years ago. King Osric enters and welcomes the 9 candidates to the first event of the trial season. Aiden tells Kenna that the magic makes everyone forget about all of the trials except for their own house's trial after the season ends. Garrick and Marcus, 2 candidates from Light and Illusion, taunt Lara for her human handmaid and insult her dead father, so Kenna insults them back. Later, Lara's brother Selwyn thanks Kenna for sticking up for Lara and tells Kenna that Lara is all he has. Kenna walks along the corridors and her dagger armband pricks her and speaks through her mind. It can transform into any shape and it tells her it won't kill her, but it needs to drink blood to survive. At a party, Kenna and Aiden see contestant Lady Una of Void talking with her siblings, Prince Hector and Lord Callan. Aiden explains that Hector usually avoids court, but Callan is the king's cruel spy. Aiden says the Fae worship the 6 sacred shards that are rumored to have fallen from the sky long ago to create magic. The 6 virtues are courage, discipline, cunning, strength, hedonism, and magic. Aiden tells Kenna that the first test is void, and the trait that will be tested is courage, and he suspects it will be conducted in darkness. The king hosts a dinner party with all of the contestants and their servants, and he brings out 8 Fae prisoners. The king says that there is a noble from Void among the prisoners, and he only spares Prince Hector because his brother, Lord Callan, was the one to inform the king of his treason. The king commands Hector to kill the noble, and he uses magic to rip his body in 2 without lifting a finger. The king commands the other house heads to each kill a traitor, and they all do it using their own form of magic. King Osric kills the rest, and he tortures them slowly while everyone hides their disgust. When it's done, Kenna runs to cry, and Lord Callan follows her. He tells her that she did well hiding her emotions during the dinner, and he says he's curious about her because it's rare for humans to exhibit magic like she did during the hunt. Kenna silently asks the dagger if she has Fae blood, and the dagger confirms that she does not. Kenna asks about Bloodhouse, and Callan warns her to be careful about asking dangerous questions. Lady Lara leaves with Kenna, and while they're both in her chambers, Lara starts to sob after witnessing the violence, and Kenna comforts her. A few days later, Kenna sees Drustin, and he makes a comment about Earthhouse not being able to remain neutral forever, and says that Firehouse could be a friend to her, Lara, and Oriana if they change their minds. The night before the Void trial, Ality brings Kenna to Earthhouse's secret underground tunnels. The tunnels are how Earthhouse has gained their information on the other houses and why they remain neutral. The only places the tunnels don't go are beneath the other houses' territories because the magic wards against it. There are only 4 keys in existence, and the other 3 belong to Oriana, Lara, and Selwyn. Ality has guarded the 4th key since Oriana's oldest son, Leo, died. Ality gives the key to Kenna and tells her to use it to help Lara win the trials. Kenna will use the tunnels and meet Lara in the labyrinth during the trial to lead her safely to the end, then escape back through the tunnels undetected. The Void trial starts with a welcome dinner, and the king reveals that each contestant will have 5 hours to make it out of the labyrinth, and will have 2 tokens each that will be counted as bonus points at the end if they're able to keep them. As the contestants enter the labyrinth, Kenna enters from the tunnels with a spider silk string to guide her back to the tunnels. Kenna finds Lara and they encounter a monster, and Kenna thinks that they should go towards it instead of running away since this is a test of courage. The monster allows them to pass, and they head towards the sound of other monsters to reach the end. Lara makes it through, and Kenna heads back towards the tunnels. Kenna runs into Garrick on her way back and pretends to be a nasty to get away, and she steals one of his tokens. Kenna watches the closing ceremony and sees that Garrick didn't finish the maze, and Lara ended up somewhere in the middle of the leaderboard. The king notes that Garrick has an odd number of tokens, and Drustin whispers in Kenna's ear that he can sense the token in her pocket and warns her to get rid of it. Kenna leaves, and Callan confronts her and says that he can sense the labyrinth on her and knows she cheated and says she could be executed. Instead, he offers to get rid of the token and not tell the king if she provides him with information on Earthhouse and Prince Drustin. Kenna searches for the other human servants to learn their sign language since most of them have had their tongues cut out. She finds a girl named Triana who was released from the brothel for being too old, and another servant named Maud. She learns that most of the humans were stolen from their beds by order of the king, but some of the servants were taken as babies to be raised as servants. On Kenna's way back through the tunnels, she overhears a conversation between Drustin and other nobles, and he's expressing his dislike of the king, while the others tell him to be careful not to let Callan's spies hear him, and they mention a place called Ellesmere. Days later, Kenna overhears another conversation between contestants about the light and illusion trial. Githa says light will test control and the ability to master the body while the mind is compromised, and Carissa says illusion will test cunning and wits through a series of riddles and puzzles. Kenna tells Aiden what she found out about the trials because she knows he cares for Lord Edric. Kenna sees Dresden and they flirt, but they're interrupted by Callan. Dresden leaves and Callan demands information, so Kenna tells him that Garrick is Light's new heir, but he wants more, so she tells him that she overheard Ellesmere will soon have a new ruler, and he appears shocked and says that that's sufficient for now. At the welcome dinner for the next trial, the king announces that they all have a series of clues that they'll have to solve before midnight. In order for Kenna to help Laura, Oriana gave them enchanted bark that passes messages to the other person. Laura finds a puzzle box, and Kenna feeds her the answer of how to open it. Inside is a riddle, and Kenna points Laura in the direction of a woman with a fan, and when Laura approaches her, the woman slips her a piece of paper with a poem that seems like an ominous warning to Earth House about bowing to a king. Kenna tells Laura to kneel before the king, and when she does, she says a note that reads, "Stand behind gold." Kenna sees the other contestants standing by statues and tells Laura to stand in line with 2 statues as the clock strikes midnight. 6 contestants pass and 3 fail. Lord Edric doesn't pass and Aiden is worried for him, so Kenna says that they can work together to look for clues. Aiden says he can't reveal Fire's trial, but says Laura won't need to prepare because it won't be unpleasant. They have no way of knowing Blood's trial because the house doesn't exist anymore, and Aiden says the only ones who will talk about Blood are the Nasties. Kenna goes down a stairwell to find the Nasties, and she's brought to their queen, Queen Delida, who asks for Kenna's dagger in exchange for answers to her questions, but Kenna doesn't give it up. The queen tells Kenna that Blood values strength, and the Dark Fae used to swear fealty to their house. The queen orders the Nasties to attack Kenna, and she defends herself with her dagger, and they appear fearful of it. Kenna flees and feels the blade's excitement as she kills a Nasty. Kenna finds Dresden and tells him she went to see the Nasties, and says Delida is calling herself queen now. Kenna suspects that Dresden is planning a rebellion, and she wants to join, and she realizes that she might have feelings for him. On the spring equinox, all of the houses attend a ritual to renew the ward, and each house pledges to not commit violence against the throne. Kenna sees Dresden, and he tells her that the Fae Kingdom used to be above ground, but they've lived entirely underground since the rebellion because it's easier to control people when they can't escape. Dresden and Kenna dance together, and Callan interrupts and asks for a dance. Callan asks if she's still helping Laura with the trials, and warns her to be careful of giving too much of herself down here because no one will return her loyalty. Prince Roland of Lighthouse explains that in the light trial, contestants will have to test their control and discipline by enduring whatever happens to them in silence. The contestants walk over broken glass and lay down. Their servants are ordered to bring them an orange vial and dump it into their mouth, but Kenna secretly takes half of the potion before giving the rest to Lara, and it causes agonizing pain throughout her body. The next potion is purple, from illusion, and Kenna also drinks half of it before giving the rest to Lara, and it transports her through bad memories. The last vial is a black potion, and Kenna again takes half of it herself before giving the rest to Lara, and she's plunged into darkness. Once the effects of the last potion wear off, the contestants are free to get up and leave, marking the end of their trial. Maud and Triana give Kenna a note from Callan that says to ask Dresden about what he knows about Prince Hector right away. Kenna finds Dresden, and he says Prince Hector is cruel and ruthless. He says that Hector's father, Drix, and his own parents were spared after the rebellion when they swore fealty to Osric. Later, Drix was murdered while he slept, and Dresden believes that Hector did it since no outsiders can enter Void House, and he suspects that Hector wants to be king. Kenna and Dresden kiss, and Kenna later tells Callan what Dresden told her about Hector. Another formal dinner is held, and King Osric's guard bring forward a baby as a lighthouse woman runs forward crying. Osric says that the baby is born of 2 houses, light and void, which violates the rules of keeping the magic pure. The woman grabs her child, and Osric orders the guards to take the baby away and to give the woman lashes as a punishment. Kenna sees Callan visibly shaken by the situation and realizes he's more complex than she originally thought. Later, Kenna seeks out Dresden and asks what will happen to the Fae baby, and he tells her that it will be brought to the human realms as a changeling, and they'll take a human baby in return as a servant. He tells her that long ago, all of the Fae had weaker magic with characteristics of all of the houses, but they started breeding for traits, and that's how the houses formed. Children of 2 houses were always turned into servants or kept within house walls, but Osric began giving them as changelings during his rule because he didn't want houses to form alliances against him. Justin reveals that his closest friend in Firehouse fell in love with the Earth House heir, Lara's brother Leo, and when she became pregnant, Leo refused to leave her side. Leo died trying to find a way to get his lover and their child out of the wards. After their child was born and taken, she killed herself. The next event before the fire trial is a picnic, and Kenna is being taunted and harassed by other contestants while Lara stands by and does nothing. Garrick and Marcus start to pull at Kenna's dress while Una tries to get them to back down, and Lara tells them to stop. Callan interrupts and tells them that she belongs to Earth House and is off limits. Callan puts his sword to Garrick's throat and demands he apologize to Lara. Callan escorts Kenna back and asks if she's okay. He asks if she has any more information, and she tells him that Dresden told her about the changelings. Later that night, Lara apologizes for not sticking up for Kenna and tells her she'll try to be a better friend. The Beltane festival begins, and Lara disguises Kenna as a visiting fae and sneaks her in. Fae jump over the Beltane fire and lose themselves to their deepest desires. A fae notices Kenna's restraint and makes her jump over the fire. Kenna then finds Dresden and they sleep together. The next day, Dresden announces that last night's festival was the fire trial. They passed if they listened to the fire and seized what they wanted. Kenna makes her way to the king's brothel so she can see how many humans need to be saved there. The dagger speaks to her and tells her that its name is Kaido, and explains that they were bound because she was the first drop of blood it tasted after its last mistress died. Kenna sees a young woman with scars in a room with the king, and he cuts patterns into her skin while she screams. Kenna finds the wards and realizes that there's no way out, and her only chance of escaping is getting Dresden on the throne. Lara explains the next trial is Earth, and she'll have to survive in the woods for a week using only magic. But the king changed the rules, and contestants are now allowed to hunt and kill each other during the trial. Oriana says they'll smuggle Kenna into the trial and disguise her as a tree nymph since she knows how to survive in the wilderness. Kenna visits the brothel again after overhearing Dresden and Lothar of Lighthouse talk about rebellion plans. Dresden says Delida and the Nasties will have to help since they're the only ones that can harm Osric because of the warding ritual. They plan to attack in the throne room since it's warded against magic, and they'll be on even footing with his guards. The next day, Dresden confronts Kenna about being at the brothel, and she says that she wants to help, and they sleep together again. Dresden tells Kenna that he has all of Firehouse, Delida and the Nasties, and a quarter of Lighthouse on his side, but Osric has all of Illusion, most of Light, and everyone else is too scared of him to rebel. Dresden wants Kenna's help in swaying Earth House to their side. He tells her more about Bloodhouse and says that they were Illusion's opposite, valuing truth, and they were mostly warriors and healers. During the last rebellion, Osric gave the rebelling houses a choice of swearing eternal fealty to him or being destroyed. Princess Cordelia of Bloodhouse and her people chose their honor and refused to bow to him. As Cordelia tried to help her house escape to the human realm, Osric caught them and killed them all and forbade anyone from speaking of Bloodhouse ever again. Lara takes Kenna to a secret back entrance of Earth House to look at the sky, and Kenna asks her if she wishes someone else was in charge. Kenna tells her she sounds like Selwyn and warns her to never speak like that in front of other people. Kenna meets with Callan and tells him that she heard that Void was planning a rebellion, and she taunts him, which makes him laugh, and that surprises her. He reveals that he began serving the king by force. After the rebellion, his father took another consort and had Hector, his heir, and then him. The king required him, as the spare, to serve the crown to ensure their house's loyalty. Firehouse wasn't forced to do this because Dresden was their only heir. The Earth trial starts, and Kenna disguises herself and joins Lara inside the forest. Lara and Kenna take shelter in a hole in the ground, and when Kenna goes out to hunt, she finds Wilfred, a Void contestant, dead. She hears Lara scream and sneaks back to save her. She's able to knock Marcus unconscious, but Garrick recognizes Kenna. Kenna uses her dagger to kill Garrick, and the blade drinks all of his blood. After the trial ends, the contestants and their servants go to the dinner, and King Osric explains that Marcus and Garrick killed Wilfred and Una killed Githa, but says Garrick was killed by something else, presumably a nasty. He says the body was drained of blood, exactly like Bloodhouse's signature way of killing, and the dagger reveals to Kenna that its previous mistress was Princess Cordelia of Bloodhouse. Kenna tells Dresden that Selwyn might join their cause and sway Oriana and Lara to break neutrality. During a summer solstice event, Prince Roland makes an announcement that punishment will begin, and a guard brings in chained fairies. Kenna recognizes a noble fae from Firehouse, and when it's her turn at the execution block, she says that the Fire Prince made her conspire with the Illusion Ladies for a rebellion. King Osric calls Drustin to the front, and he denies the allegations and says he was with a fae lady from Light during that time. The lady attests to his claim, and Prince Roland says that she is his cousin and can be trusted to tell the truth, so the king rescinds the accusation. During the blood trial, Lara receives a puzzle box, and when she and Kenna try to open it, little thorns stick out and the box drinks their blood like Kenna's dagger does. Kenna presses on the box, and it opens to reveal a small dagger, a cup, and a note that says to fill the cup with blood at the blood tree and water it well. Lara explains that the blood tree is located at the entrance to Bloodhouse. Lara is afraid, so Kenna gives her a vial of her own blood to put in the cup at the tree so she doesn't have to cut as deep when she gets there. The contestants arrive at the tree and spill their blood, and Kenna sees them vanish as memories start to play before her. The tree asks if she's sorry, and she says yes for hurting her mother and Anya, but not for the rest. The memories stop, and she sees the other contestants begin to exit their trance, and the trial is over. Kenna accompanies Lara to the final ball, where the trial results will be announced. The shards are brought into the room and placed on stands. The 6 contestants are lined up and will enter the vortex of magic and either come out immortal or dead, with or without magic, depending on if they're worthy. Una, Marcus, and Edric emerge with their powers, and Carissa and Talfrin come out the other side dead, and their corpses drop to the floor. Before Lara can pass through, the king is alerted of an attack and brought a bloody sack. He dumps its contents onto the floor and sees that it's Lothar, Prince Roland's younger brother and Drustin's co-conspirator. The guard announces that 260 fire and light troops were killed on their way to attack the king, and Kenna realizes that Drustin's rebellion has lost before it even started. The king accuses Prince Drustin of treason and says he will die if he doesn't prove that he wasn't involved. Drustin denies his involvement and says he knows of another traitor, Lord Selwyn of Earth House, and Kenna believes this is her fault for providing Drustin with Selwyn's name. Selwyn is brought up to the king, and Osric tricks him by saying Lothar implicated him before his death. Selwyn confesses and says his mom and sister were ignorant of his involvement, sacrificing himself so his family could be safe, and Kenna realizes that Drustin is a coward for not doing the same. Osric asks if Selwyn regrets it, and he says no because Osric is cruel and everyone deserves to be free. King Osric pushes him into the magic vortex, and he's killed when he exits on the other side. The king accuses Lara and Kenna of being involved when he sees them crying over the traitor, and Drustin says he doesn't believe they're involved because Lara is weak and needed Kenna's help on the trials. Kenna denies this, and the king says both Lara and Kenna will be thrown into the vortex. Lara emerges alive, but without her power, being judged unworthy. Callan tries to protest Kenna's death, but she's pushed into the vortex anyway. Kenna hears the shards discussing her, saying she wasn't supposed to compete, but passed every trial. The blood shard claims her, and they collectively agree that she's worthy. Kenna falls out the other side, and everyone assumes she's dead, and Osric tells Drustin that he's proven his loyalty. King Osric brings servants into the room for Faye to grope and use as entertainment, and Kenna sees that the new servant girl who was brought from the brothel is actually her best friend Anya. Kenna hears Kaido, her dagger, in her mind, telling her that Bloodhouse has been reborn and she is now immortal. Suddenly, Nasty's attack, as well as more Fire and Earth House soldiers. Void troops enter and use the opportunity to join the coup while Lighthouse fights them back. Kenna gets up and heads towards the king because he isn't warded against Bloodhouse. Callan sees her and looks relieved that she's alive and kills a Lighthouse soldier who tries to stab her from behind, and he starts fighting for the rebellion. As Kenna fights her way to the front, she sees that her new power affects her attackers' bodies, and they move slow and sluggish as they attack her. Kenna reaches the back of the dais and slits Osric's throat from behind. He casts an illusion to make himself invisible, but Kenna's new power senses his heartbeat, and she stabs him again, and Kaido drains the blood from him. The light and illusion troops flee, and the Nasties rally behind Kenna, while Drustin looks at her with fear. Kenna sees Anya and tries to talk with her, but Anya says that she's not real and won't be tricked again, and it's assumed that the king was torturing her with illusions. Lara finds Kenna and asks what they should do now that they're not welcome in Earth House, and Kaido whispers to Kenna that they have a new home in Bloodhouse. Drustin makes an announcement that they will have to decide on a new king, and of course offers himself up as an option. Prince Hector of Void House challenges him and says that he's been planning his own rebellion with Ellesmere, and says Drustin gave up his ally Selwyn to protect himself, and he shouldn't be trusted as king. Oriana says she'll remain neutral, which leaves Void and Fire split. Drustin says Kenna will have to choose, as she's now the Princess of Bloodhouse, and she will be the tiebreaker. She says that she won't choose until one of them proves themselves worthy to rule, and while Drustin tries to push back, Hector just accepts this and says that he will prove himself to her. Kenna, Lara, and Anya make their way to Bloodhouse as their new home. That's how the book ends. Hope you enjoyed this video, and of course, if there are any other fantasy books that you would like me to review before the next one in the series comes out, just leave me a comment below, and thanks again for watching.